Dusty, back in the World Series after 50 plus years in baseball. How do you describe the journey?
Remarkable, I guess, but it was also, I felt as if this whole journey was written before I was born even. And, I think about my childhood, think about coming up as a young man, think about the different scenarios that I've been in life. It sort of prepared me, for this, this journey. And I didn't even know I was on a journey, to tell you the truth. I was just living my life, but now that I look back, I realized that I was.
Every journey, every life is composed of moments.
Mm-hmm.
So just to pick a handful, there are so many which are incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start with one outside of baseball. How do you come to enjoy a smoke with Jimi Hendrix?
I don't know, man. I was with some crazy partners out of high school, and that was a thing back then. I mean, we were 18, 19 years old, and it just sort of happened, and we were going to go see Jimi Hendrix, and I loved Jimi Hendrix. My buddies couldn't understand how I could like him because it was kind of out there, and it was kind of out there for me too. But I kind of liked the melody and the melodic beats that he had, and it kind of reminded me of my dad. When I was a kid, he liked jazz.
Jazz and blues, right?
Yeah, jazz and blues. And it kind of reminded me of a combination between jazz and blues. And then the more I listened to Jimi Hendrix, the more I learned about his life, is that he started out playing kind of the blues and jazz and ended up morphing something that was Jimi Hendrix sound and experience.
And you and your buddies just happened to spot him outside a club. And
well, I was outside of on the Funky Broadway in San Francisco. So that was just, a lot of people want to know about it, but that was just something that happened at that time.
Being in the on-deck circle when Hank Aaron hits 7:15, what did you experience in that moment? You, Dusty.
Well, I didn't want to get in the way. I could have been the first guy up there to congratulate him, but this was kind of like Hank's moment. And so you don't hardly see me in the pictures other than in the beginning. And I didn't think about history. I didn't think about nothing. I just thought about that I was so happy for Hank Aaron and glad it was over for him and his family, because it wasn't a very positive experience. It wasn't as joyous as it should have been. And so, like I said, I was just happy for, for Hank.
In 1977, I believe after you hit your 30th home run for the Dodgers, you cross the plate, you come back toward the dugout, and you're credited with co-creating the high five.
Well,
yet another moment. What happened, Dusty?
Well, I think Glenn Burke did it actually, because I hit the home run and everybody credits me, but Glenn just threw up his hands. I hit it off my nemesis, J.R. Richard, God bless his soul, and a good friend of mine. And Reggie Smith had told him that I was going to hit it off him. He told him on Thursday, and JR wasn't pitching until Sunday. And I said, Reggie, he don't need any help, need any motivation getting me out, because, he was the toughest of all pitchers on me. And then I remember there were some guys gambling over the dugout. I could tell they were gambling, because first time up, I hit a line drive, and I guess they were betting. I saw them. And then second time up, I foul tipped the third strike to the catcher's glove, and I came back and I still saw him, and one guy was paying the other guy, and I was like, man, I don't think I'm gonna get it. And I was talking to myself, and then Tom Sawyer goes, Dusty, the Lord wouldn't have led the children of Egypt, of Israel, by the Red Sea, and he parted the sea. And I'm like, Tommy, okay, you gotta believe, you gotta believe. That's what he say all the time. I said, Tommy, I believe, okay, leave me alone. And so the next time up, I swear he threw me a fastball. I don't know. It had to be, because he was always mid-90s to 100, and it looked like it stopped. I swear it stopped right there, and I hit it over the center field wall. I gave Jim Gilliam a high five on the way by, and then came in, and then that's where Glenn was. And,
what was he doing, Burke?
Just the way he always does, partying, having a good time, you know what I mean? And so you had a good time. And he threw his hand up, I threw mine up, because back then everybody was going down low. I didn't think there was going to be any significance of it. And then last year I was someplace, and then I got some calls from my friends. Hey man, this is National High Five Day. It is? I'm like, well, I wish I had been given some credit for the fist bump, because I think that's much more sanitary than the high or low five. You know what I mean?
You've had huge moments on the biggest stages as well, that are indelible. One, Game 5, 2002 World Series that involved your son, Darren, as the bat boy. What happened as JT Snow came around?
Well, I mean, you know, there was a bat boy that we'd never seen before. And so all the players, their players, I mean, their sons were the bat boys. And so, you know, like JT Snow's son was there, Sean Dunston's son was there, Barry Bonds' son was there. You know, all the sons were there, and there was some kid that we didn't recognize. So my son was 3 years old, and he was very competitive. And the reason he was there is because I had been diagnosed, you know, with cancer that winter, and I had, you know, had some treatment done. And so, you know, the most scary thing at that time was your every 3-month checkup, then your every 6-month checkup, because they're like, oh, we'll let you know in a week. I said, no, you let me know today, as soon as you can, because that's probably the most traumatic time of the year of when you finding out, is your cancer back, or is it still in remission, or is it gone? And so I was trying to give my son everything in the world that I could give him. You know, this is my second marriage. I was a 50-year-old father. My son was 3 years old. He loved baseball. And so I heard him talking, and the kid goes, oh man, and my son's designated bat, because he asked my wife, what did I do? Because all I do is sit around. and so his designated father's bat was Kenny Lofton. And so the one kid tells my son, he goes, hey man, I'm gonna get that bat. My son says, no, you're not, that's mine. And so I heard, and I told the other older bat boy, Brandon, I said, hey man, you keep an eye on him, because I know this little sucker. And so Kenny hit the ball, my little son ran out there, and Brandon reached for him and missed him. And my mother, before the game, had just told me not to let him be the bat boy, because she had a bad feeling. I said, oh, Mom, I know what I'm doing, you know what I mean? Oh, Lord. And so anyway, that's what happened. And JT saved him. And then I got a call as soon as I got back into my office. This is my mom. And saying how hard-headed I was, and I didn't never listen to her, and you know, I was the same way as a kid. I'd hear it all. I said, Mom, the press is here. She goes, oh no, you tell them to wait, because you're gonna listen to me, because you don't never listen. You know how mom's giving you hell. And what am I gonna say? So I mean, she knew before I knew myself. So that's how that happened. Then I just saw a couple of days ago that was the 20th anniversary of my son. Man, that's 20 years, and now here he is playing with the Washington Nationals, and he'll be here at the ballpark. You know, at the game, he wouldn't miss this for anything.
That's incredible.
Yep.
20 years since, Dusty, to have that lead in Game 6, 5-0, everything you've been through. When you think back on that loss, what's one memory?
Well, to tell you the truth, I don't think back on it. Because, I mean, what good is you can't bring it back? And, you know, no matter what, it's not hard to come out with a positive out of that.
Yeah.
You know, like, and to me, people say, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Well, hey, man, I always got a reason for everything that I do. And I never count my chickens before they hatch, ever. And the one thing, you know, there's a lot of people that really don't know how I think. And that's why I think part of my advantage on how I win is you don't know how I think, because I don't really let you know too much about me inside. I'll let you see some external stuff, but my internal stuff, that's for me and my family and the Lord above, and that's what gives me the edge and jump on most people.
1 year later, incredibly, you're there again. The Bartman moment.
Yeah.
With Chicago.
Yeah.
What did you tell yourself when you saw that happen, Dusty?
I told myself that I thought Mo would have caught that ball.
Yeah.
and then inning was over. And then we had a double play ball that inning I thought was over. And then we had 2 strikes on D. Lee, my homeboy from Sacramento, who went to my camp. And ended up playing for me later. D. Lee was on Miami at the time. I mean, he hit a tough pitch off Mark Pryor.
Yeah.
And people asked me, so why'd you leave him out there so long? Well, I had a pretty good bullpen, but I didn't have the bullpen I have now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, everything depends on who you think is stronger at the time, your bullpen or your starters. And sometimes it's your starters, sometimes it's your bullpen. And I love my bullpen. I love the guys at that point in time. But it's like, who could I have brought in that was better than who I had on the mound right there?
In Chicago, away from baseball, you had the opportunity to spend time with Barack and Michelle Obama. What was that like, Dusty? What did you guys share?
Actually, they were real good friends with Gary Matthews, one of my best buddies. And, Michelle and Sandy, Gary's wife, at the time were real good friends. And I didn't see him much in Chicago. I'd see him sometime, but I saw him mostly in Arizona because he'd come to spring training. And so that's where I got to meet him, got to know him. Like I said, I met him through Gary Matthews, and then I ended up helping him campaign in Sacramento and San Francisco, and then I went to the White House right before, well, I actually went to the inauguration, and then I went to the White House right before he left office because we had the winter meetings in Washington.
Yeah.
So he called me over, and I told him to say, hey, man, I'm going home. He goes, well, and I said, how'd you get my number? He goes, like I said, I'm the president. This is the president. So okay, I guess you get my number anytime you get ready. You can get anybody's number. And so I went over to the White House.
You actually asked the President of the United States, how did you get my number?
Yeah. I thought he was going to tell me Gary or something, you know what I mean? But he said, like I said, I'm the President of the United States. I said, well, you got a good point there. And so we had a good conversation, real good conversation. I don't save many pictures, but that's some of the pictures I saved on my phone. And, we just talked about just different current events and what might happen in the next, the next 4 years or next, how many, 8 years. And it was a great conversation.
You've managed some of the biggest stars, Dusty, this game has seen. A quick thought as I just give you a few names. Bonds.
Unbelievable concentration. I mean, and vision.
Sosa.
Belief. I mean, belief beyond compare. A showman for the fans, and I hate that it appears like he never even played for the Cubs.
Yeah.
And that's wrong because he gave the Cubs in Chicago many moments when they had nothing else but him.
Griffey Jr.
Oh, Griff, I got him at the end, and I'm telling you, I mean, he's great and a great person, and I know his mom and dad, and I remember when Jim Lefevre came to me when he was the manager of the Seattle Mariners, and he told me there's a 19-year-old kid or whatever it is, 19 or 20 years old. He says, Dusty, I'm thinking about keeping him in the big leagues. Wow. And I was like, really? And he told me who it was, and I said, yeah, I heard he's good because I'd never seen him play. But I mean, he was right. I mean, every once in a while there's a child phenom that is way beyond their years.
Bryce Harper.
Bryce, good dude. I like some Bryce, and I like the way that he lives his life, and I like the way that he's dedicated, to his church.
Yeah.
And I think he gets a bad rap a lot of times, because he's different, but good, and hell of a player. But I like him even better as a person than I respect him as a player.
For all these moments that have made up this journey, there's one that you're still in the fight for, still seeking.
Yeah.
What would it mean to win the series title?
Well,
what would it mean, Dusty, to win it?
Number one, well, I'm going to win it. I always thought that. I don't know. I'm hoping to win it this year. I mean, and I'm close. How many people never even got close? You know what I mean? It took Bobby Cox 15 times, to win it. And it took some guys 2 times to win it. You know what I mean? And it would mean a lot because, when I lost 2002, my dad told me, he goes, son, he goes, man, if you didn't win it this year, you may never win it. And so it's like, that year I thought we had it.
Yeah.
And I said, and I love my dad, but I always loved proving my dad wrong. And he wasn't wrong very often. And because my dad, I remember one day he's playing pinochle with his buddies, and he says to his friends, they say, oh man, Dusty's, I had a brother right under me 2 years. And he says, man, Dusty gonna be a heck of a player. His buddies I was peeking around the corner. And then he goes, oh no, you gotta see my second son, Rob. And my brother was a heck of a player. He's a better baseball player than me, which my dad was right. My dad was a heck of a scout. My dad was my Little League coach, Bobby Bonds' Little League coach. But, I never told my dad that I heard him say that.
Yeah.
But, hey, man, when people tell me something I can't do, and then I always thought, that I'll win 1, I'll win 2, and then back-to-back, hopefully, and then say goodnight.
I could keep you here forever, Dusty. Man, what a pleasure.
Yeah.
What an absolute pleasure.
Thank
I've been
you.
waiting forever to have an opportunity like this.
Well, I've been around forever,
The notion that people suggest to you this Forrest Gump-like quality of your life, what do you think when you hear that?
I don't know. I thought Forrest was pretty cool. You know what I mean? And I don't forget much. And I work on it. My dad had dementia, my mom had dementia, my auntie had dementia. So I work on it. I work on phone numbers. I don't use MapQuest. I try to memorize things to stay sharp, and like Willie Brown told me, he always told me,
Willie Brown,
the Honorable Willie Brown, he said, Dusty, don't let the old man in. So he told me, he says, don't shuffle your feet and keep your shoulders broad and wide, head up, brain sharp.
The last thing, Dusty, I'd ask is, a lot of these players, Aaron has heard them say this, you've heard them say this, there's a big part of them, they want to do this for you.
But I told them I don't want them to do it for me. I want them to do it for us or them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Why?
Why? Well, like I told them, these guys are going to be, hopefully when we win this thing, the class of all, the world champion 2022, and usually don't meet for another 20 years after and come back. And I told them 20 years, heck, I'll be 93, I might even be here. so you guys do it for yourself. And then that automatically includes me.
We appreciate you so much. We know you got to run, Dusty.